Hey everybody, how's it going? Delrith here, bringing you an impressions video for the Souls-like Deadspace sort of game, Hellpoint. Now, a few things before I start. This is a preview version of Hellpoint. It's about 2 to 3 hours long, and the developers, Cradle Games, were nice enough to let me play the game and actually check it out and do a video on it because it was delayed because of the virus and a bunch of other stuff. But I managed to get hands-on. I've played a lot of it, and I think I'm confident enough that I can give you a good impressions video of it. I've done a lot of Dark Souls videos, reviews, a lot of Dark Souls-like videos and reviews and impressions. I think the worst one I ever played was Immortal Unchained, and I went into this being a little skeptical because I didn't know if it was going to be a good game or not. Yay! And we're just going to skip through the intro so I don't spoil anything for you or any of the dialogue or any of that. But like I was saying, I went through this and I was skeptical on whether or not this was going to be good because I've played so many bad games. But I could put all that to rest right now and say that everything that I have played of this game so far has been pretty damn amazing. And the actual inventory system is also very nice. You of course get yourself your Estus flask. You've got all your traditional Souls-like things. This is, of course, the starting intro, the beginning area for everything. But you can already see there's a lot of similarities, like just the sprinting, the running, the rolling, just everything is very Souls-like, and it's crisp, it's clean. The movement in this game is fantastic, and I'm really, really glad for it, because it just, you know, if you feel good moving about and have good control over your character, these sort of games just feel way better, especially if they're not clunky. Now, this is going to be your just standard bonfire. I do like the way they did the breach system in this game compared to a few other Souls-likes. They do let you do a bunch, like being able to synchronize between them, travel between them, increase the difficulty, which is really awesome at any point once you find items that let you do it. And it increases the difficulty for the entire game. It doesn't just restrict you to only this area being increased like in some of the Souls games. This is the entire game, and it just scales everything up. You get more souls, you get better drops, you fight harder enemies, it's just everything. In this game, you do have all your stats typical of a Souls-like. You've got yourself your health, your stamina, your energy, which is like how many bullets you could shoot. There are guns in this game. You do have your load, equipment weight, strength, reflex for dex, cognition, which I think is firearm damage, and then foresight, which is magic. There's like, so as I said, there's magic, firearms, and melee in this game. And there are dex builds, etc., etc. So far, what has separated Hellpoint from the other games that are in this genre is the fact that this is a super heavily exploration-based Souls-like. What I mean by this is there are more secrets than you can possibly fathom riddled about within this game, and I'm going the wrong way. And just the sheer number of things you can discover, even in the first level, are just wild. Things that you can completely miss that will drastically change how your game plays later on, including key cards, access codes, just you can think of it, you name it, weapons. They're all just hidden everywhere in this game. They're all over the place. And you can very easily miss them on your first playthrough if you're not actually trying to find them. A great example is right up here. You know, normally you'd go up the stairs, but there's a secret door there. And I believe this leads down the flesh corridor. Yep. Now, you can get a weapon here. This is one of the weapons, the hidden weapon, a column. It's one of my favorite weapons. I'll be showing you in a little bit on my other save. Specifically, like this is another example. Can't be opened from the side. The stench is atrocious. There's a way to get here. I don't quite remember where it is, but I do remember that you can, in fact, get that way. As far as combos and everything goes, all this stuff feels really fluid. I have absolutely no complaints with the combat system. It doesn't feel sluggish. Weapons feel unique and enjoyable to use. And there are a bunch of different builds and a bunch of different weapons you can actually get a hold of that will play completely differently from one another. It's got a little bit of something for everyone. Now, I didn't use magic or firearms on my first playthrough, or even my second playthrough. I was a melee man, and it's just how I like to do that the first time I play through a game, since magic tends to like trivialize things. Look at Dark Souls. So, you know, I don't know like how crazy it is, but I did manage to fiddle with it a little bit and reload, like switch my stats around just to get a feel, and it felt pretty good. You aim and shoot. It's that simple. Now, enemies do have a chance to drop a lot of what they kill, or what they have on them when you kill them. They can drop pretty much anything. There are a few exceptions to that. Some of the really hard enemies, you have to get their blueprints through other ways, but they will drop the materials you need to actually build. Also, axioms are your souls, so you will get souls. You can farm souls, you use them to level up, etc. Now, the way that the Estus flask, or the nano injector, or whatever it's called in this game, works is you get it by doing damage. If you look in the bottom, the circle's actually filling up as I do damage. This is from a stat called Leech on weapons, and so there's this dynamic of getting weapons that have better Leech to refill your healing charges versus weapons that do more damage, and vice versa. You know, just lots of things you can do, lots of ways you can play, and a lot of different things that are beneficial to you. But I do like the damage healing mechanic. Now, as you saw, there is backstab damage, which is cool, but there are no backstab animations that I have found. But anyway, on the topic of exploration, here's an example of something you can find early on that will drastically change what you can do later on in the game. So this is another secret door, and up this secret door, you are going to find something very secret in another secret. So this itself, that's one thing that I've found. There are secrets within secrets within secrets in this game. And that man just fell from the ceiling in the default pose. But you'll find weapons up here. You're like, oh, this is a cool secret. I got what I wanted to. This is also a called conjuring table. It's another type of crafting table. You can craft things at these crafting tables. I'll show you more in a little bit, like on a proper save. But yeah, you go to these crafting tables. Each one has a specific purpose, and you can craft pretty cool stuff at these tables, or upgrade models you already have. As well, you can also dismantle things that you have too many of and use them in crafting different weapons later on. Now, you would think, oh, well, I'm done here. No, there are more secrets. There's always secrets to look for. And this is an example, like I said, of something you need to get to be able to access another area. Look at that. I've got credentials, which I will tell you opens another wing of the space station later on that you wouldn't have been able to normally get to unless you had explored. And there's just stuff like that everywhere. I think the intended length of this demo was about 3 to 4 hours if you just push all the way through and don't explore. With exploration, I was able to get about 6.5, 7 hours out of it, and I don't think I found anywhere close to anything like everything that there is. As far as enemy design, boss mechanics, etc., they're all good. They're all solid. The bosses are enjoyable. They're all fairly unique in their designs. And I will show you one of the starting ones real quick, just to give you that idea. And they're just neat. I mean, like they're not easy by any means, but they're not like overly bullshit from what I've played so far either. And I've only beaten about 4 or 5 of them in this preview, but it's been positive. It's all been positive thus far. Now, one thing I do like about Hellpoint is it does what a few of the other Souls-like games do, where they put a lot harder enemies than you're supposed to fight in the starting area, basically as an indicator for you to backtrack later and fight them at a later point when you're more capable of doing so. This would be the example of that, is these 2 guys. I think they're called Sentinels. There's 2 of them in the starting area, and they will just absolutely kick your ass if you try to fight them early on. And you know, you think, oh, hey, I can actually fight them, you know, maybe I could do it with skill. No, they're pretty fucking hard. They're definitely what I would call hard early on, but you can't kill them later, and you can farm them for materials and blueprints to be able to craft what they're wearing and, you know, to acquire it that way. Now, there is another secret over here. I'll show you really fast, so when you do start playing, since this is first level, I'll let you know. Hey, look. Secret. Most secret doors I've found do look fairly similar. So it's not like they're abnormally hard to find or like too difficult to find or just not easy to find. You just have to be paying attention, and they're not overly hidden. Shortcut back to the bonfire. But yeah, they do the shortcut system too, like you got with the Surge and Darksouls, etc. And it just functions the way you would. Now, it's safe to say that this was heavily super inspired by Dark Souls, and it's not a bad problem. It's definitely got its own identity thus far, and I've enjoyed it. immensely. And I can say already that I'm looking forward to seeing what this game is at launch when it comes out by the end of June, which I will be reviewing, because my whole impression of it so far has been just great. Now at this point, you're supposed to have a bunch of different stuff. You're supposed to explore the level, get a bunch of weapons, maybe get some armor, etc. before you fight this boss up the stairs, which is the first boss. But I just want to give you an example of what a boss is like in this game. And since this is the first boss, it's not really going to spoil you on anything, I don't believe, because there's no story or anything like that tied to the boss. But it should give you an idea, basically, of what to expect when you're fighting bosses. So, interesting thing about this boss is they actually slow you permanently during this fight if you get hit. And my guard's been broken. And I think I'm dead. Yeah, I'm just dead. If they actually attack me again. I'm gonna be able to beat her, I believe. Maybe? Hopefully? I don't know, probably not. Just get out of that corner. Greed! But yeah, first boss, pretty easy. Unlocks portal. Lets you go back to where you came from, etc., etc. if you unlock certain things. But yeah, that's a good synopsis, or I think a good summary of what it's like so far. Let me show you what you get if you go and you have a further along character, just so I could show you some of the mechanics of the game better. Alright, so here's an example of a character that's a little bit more developed than my previous characters. I've zunked about like 7 or 8 hours into this dude, and you can tell based on my, my equipment that I'm somewhat competently geared. The way that I went with this guy was I went pure strength and tank build. I wanted to do like a Havel thing, so I'm wearing like ancient warrior stuff, which is high defense, etc., etc. One thing that you do get later on is your Omni Cube, which is how you get like special abilities. Being able to like teleport back to a breach, which, bonfire, without losing your souls, which is really nice. And there are other things you can actually socket in it, like for seeing secret platforms. You can use a flashlight that'll show you hidden platforms and hidden areas if you use it. Bunch of cool things like that. You do get to enchant, like put modules in yourself, like rings, essentially, that give you other things. You do have equipment load, etc., etc., that like dictates how fast you move, how fast you dodge, so on and so forth. And you can upgrade weapons to, I don't know what the maximum is, but I have my column, which is my big ass pillar of rebar, set to +10 right now. And what's cool about this is it's a strength augment, and you can actually move the augment between weapons, because what you're upgrading isn't the weapon itself, it's the upgrade that's in the weapon. And I really enjoy that system, because if you do find a weapon later on that you want to use, you don't have to re-upgrade it from scratch. You actually are just gonna re-upgrade the weapon. Now, first thing you'll notice is that this pillar feels good. Like, it sounds good. It's big when it hits the ground. It's a good weapon, and I really love the audio design in this game because of it. It was like when this game really started to shine to me was when I started using this thing, because it's just wholly satisfying. Also, it's worth mentioning I've upgraded the difficulty of my zone twice already, so I'm a little bogus. I'm still one-tapping stuff, but I have upgraded it twice. As far as other things, there is parrying. You can parry, and it will result in bonus damage and enemy stagger. I haven't found an enemy that can't be parried yet. So that's a big positive, and it does definitely dynamically change how you can play and what you can do, depending on what you want to put in your main hand and offhand. It's just the feedback on the hits, doing the jump attacks and doing the hits. They're just so good. And there are power attacks, and one question I did get a lot when I was streaming this was, are there two-handed weapons? Not specifically, but if you have your offhand free, there are weapons that will use two-handed animations. Ow. So far, I've just enjoyed this immensely, and I could totally recommend that anyone that was interested in it, give it a shot, check it out. It's been an enjoyable experience, and although you can't currently pre-order it, the rumor is that it's going to be under $40, and with what I've played so far, I'm entirely on board. You can, however, add it to your wish list on Steam, and it is something that you can pick up when it becomes available as soon as there's like an announcement for the release date. But I will be reviewing it, like I said, and I'm more than interested to play through the whole game and see what it has to offer, because everything that I've played through so far has just not been bad, and that's all there really is to say about it. You know, there's one last thing I do want to talk about before I wrap up this video, and it's the fact that you will be able to play this whole game cooperatively through the entire way with a buddy, and you do not apparently disconnect when you die. I had the developers in my chat when I was actually giving this a shot, and they said that you will be able to do local co-op or online co-op with a friend, and somebody dying does not mean that they get booted from your world. You'll be able to play from the very start of the game to the very end of the game, do all the bosses, work together, find secrets together. Progress is apparently saved between both players, and that's awesome. So, you know, looking forward to actually seeing the full release of Hellpoint, and yeah, check it out. But until the next video, this is going to be Delrith signing out, and I will see you all later. Bye.